Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed my last video on how to convert or how to put fractions and decimals in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. This video is going to talk about how to put mixed numbers and decimal numbers that are greater than one whole in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. The process is basically exactly the same, except you're not going to have a zero in before the decimal point. Instead, you're going to have a whole number. So we're still going to use the ODO method, which is a chart where you put the original number in the first row, you put decimal numbers in the second row, and then in the last row, you put those original numbers in order from either least to greatest or greatest to least. Now, by looking at the directions in this problem, it says put the following numbers in order from greatest to least, and then the 5 numbers are listed there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 5 numbers in that first row of the original numbers. So it's 2.91, it's 2 and 7/8, 2 and 9/10, 2.85, and 2 and 4/5. Now, I also see in the directions that it says to put them in order from greatest to least. So underneath this word order down here, I'm going to write G, and then I'm going to put an arrow and L so that I know that the greatest number has to come first, which means the biggest number of these 5 needs to come first. Now, the first thing I need to do is fill in my decimal row. So because I already have 2 numbers that are already in decimal form, I'm going to go ahead and write those in. And that's 2.91 and 2.85. Now there's 3 other numbers here. There's 2 and 7/8, 2 and 9/10, and 2 and 4/5. Now because they all have a 2 as the whole number, I'm going to go ahead and at least fill in that part of the chart. So I'm going to write 2 point something because I know that 2 and 7/8 is going to be 2 point, and then whatever the 7/8 is as a decimal is what I'm going to put after the decimal point. Same thing with 2 and 9/10. I'm going to put 2 point something, and 2 and 4/5. I'm going to put 2 point something. Now, the easiest one for me of these 3 is 2 and 9/10 because I know that 2 and 9/10 would just look like 2.9. The next easiest one is probably 2 and 4/5. Now I can ignore this whole number 2 for a second because I already know that's the number that's going to be in front of the decimal point. What I need to look at now is 4/5. So down here, I'm going to make 4/5 a fraction in my little area down here. So I'm going to have my 5 in the denominator and my 4 in the numerator. Now I say this one is easy because I know that I can make it into a fraction, an equivalent fraction, with 10 as the denominator. Now, because 10 is the denominator, I originally had 4/5, so 5 was the original denominator, and that became a 10. And the question is, what do I do to 5 to get 10? And what you do to 5 to get 10 is multiply by 2, which means you're going to have to multiply the numerator, which is 4, by 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. So that means that 4/5 is equal to 8/10, which means that 2 and 4/5 is equal to 2 and 8/10, which is 2.8. And that's what that looks like as a decimal. The last one is 7/8. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is pause the video here and convert 7/8 to a decimal using division. Now remember that when you set up the division, you have to put the top number inside the house. It doesn't matter if the numerator is greater than or less than the denominator. No matter what, the numerator always goes inside the house. So go ahead and pause the video right now and do the division to figure out what 7/8 is equal to as a decimal. Once you're finished, you can hit play again and it will show you the solution, and you can compare your solution with the one on the screen. Okay, so what you should have gotten was that 7/8 equals 0.875. And because we have 2 and 7/8 here, we know that 2 and 7/8 then would have to be 2 and 2.875. Now, we have all of our numbers in decimal form. The only problem is that they all have a different number of digits after the decimal point. Now, if I'm looking at my numbers, 2.875 is the one that has the most number of digits after the decimal point. So I'm going to go ahead and add zeros so that all of my numbers have 3 digits after the decimal point. So 2.91 is going to become 2.910. 2.9 is going to become 2.900. 2.85 is going to become 2.850. And 2.8 is going to become 2.800. And from this, we can see, okay, now I have a 2 in front of the decimal point for all of them. And then after the decimal point, I have 910 here. I have 875 here, 900 here, 850 here, and 800 here. Because I need to put them in order from greatest to least, I'm going to look for the one that has the highest number after the decimal point. And that is 2 and 910 thousandths, or 2.910. And again, when I'm writing them in order, and again, from greatest to least, I'm going to write in the original number, because these original numbers are the numbers that we're putting in order from greatest to least. So I'm going to write in 2.91. And because I'm doing it on my Chromebook, I can make it bold so that I know that I used it already. If you're doing it on paper, you can cross it out or check it off so that you know that you used it already. The next one that I see is the next biggest is 2.900. And that was the original number, which was 2 and 9/10. So I'm going to write 2 and 9/10 in the next box. And again, I'm going to bold it so that I know I already used it. The next one I see is 2.875, which is the next highest number. And the original form of that was 2 and 7/8. So I'm going to write 2 and 7/8 in that box so that I know that that's the next highest one. And I'm going to bold that one so that I know I already used it. The next one I see is 2 and 850 thousandths, or 2.850. And the original number was just 2.85. So that's all I'm going to write in there is 2.85. I'm going to make that one bold as well so that I know I used it already. And then the very last one is 2.800, which the original number was 2 and 4/5. So now I used all 5 of the numbers. I put them in order from greatest to least in their original form, not the decimal form. The only reason why we put them in the decimal form is so that it makes it a lot easier for us to put them in order. Once we put them in order using the decimal form, we just have to write the original numbers in order from greatest to least, or least to greatest, depending on what the instructions in the problem say. So I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know or your teacher know if you have any questions.